Friendships in a small town were weird. I'd say they're really based off who you already knew, like who you're related to, who they knew, family friends, cousins, neighbors. Personally, I didn't really have any of those things. I was pretty sheltered as a kid, scared of being in trouble. My cousins, though, not so much. I feel like this distanced me from friendships even more. It wouldn't be until 6th grade when I would have an actual solid friend group. The way we all met was, as I mentioned before, we had a friend who has a friend who had a friend. But of course, I don't think that was enough to form a solid friend group. Our bond was truly solidified through playing video games. This formed what some would call a clique. The term clique doesn't sit right with me. It's a pretty cringy term in retrospect, but that's because of how it is portrayed in the media. You got stereotypes being reinforced over and over again, like mean popular girls or dumb jocks. In my case, being that I live in a small town, I would say these stereotypes of cliques are a stretch. Now, there were certain popular groups, but it's not how it seems. Like I said, social status is determined pretty early on by people you already know. Another factor was, this is a little kind of a silly one, but how good you were at sports. Birds of a feather flock together. So, of course, these kids stayed together. This wasn't an issue. It makes sense to stick with people that are similar to you, but the problem would come later in high school, though. Whenever you started playing sports then. See, playing sports in high school is fun, but there are some downsides to it, such as the hazing that goes on. Cliques, up to this point, were very neutral. As I said, everyone knew everyone, but groups stayed to themselves. The high school locker room, on the other hand, changed the neutrality to toxicity. There's a lot of hazing that goes on in high school locker rooms. Due to the friend groups, though, some students got it less or harsher. If you knew someone older, you definitely got it worse. No holds barred. Then the person that got would spread it to their friend group. But there were some kids, though, who weren't down to clown. So, of course, they'd keep their heads down. Athletics wasn't the only form of clique my school had. There's also band, which I was also a part of. Now, were there quote-unquote popular kids in there, too? A few girls, but they eventually left. Were there relatively weird kids in band? I prefer not to say. So let other people say it for me. I've heard plenty of people, even those who were in band, say band kids are weird. But it was the most fun I had in school until we got a new director. Band was almost just a huge family. And I don't see people talk about that. You spend a lot of time with these people. A lot of Fridays, sadly. But it was a great experience. I'd say band was a clique that had subgroups. A clique that is not really touched on well in media. A negative, though, was if someone didn't like you, the whole friend group didn't like you. This could be bad for students who already struggled socializing. I had an experience like this, but it didn't follow me, luckily. That could also be seen as a positive of cliques. Drama, in a way, could be contained. It could just be infighting. But if it was outside of a friend group, because we all live in a small town, it could pass quickly, because it was just a little excitement for the moment. Another negative, though, of small town cliques is relationships. Everyone knows everyone. There was a lot of what some would call friend incest. This was when everyone in a friend group would date each other. That would tear some friend groups apart. But overall, cliques remain very neutral. But there are some aspects that can make them toxic, but not as the movies portray them toxic. I hope the examples I provided give you a good understanding of how my experience with cliques was, and how they can affect the relationships in a small town.